by Martin Birch, who of course produced some of
Number
the
of
older
the
stuff, but yeah,
and
he also
produced Deep Purple. That was a big deal.
he produced Deep Purple. He produced Rainbows, Rainbow Rising, and Long Live Rock and Roll. He produced Whitesnake, some of the Whitesnake stuff.
Yep.
He was a big name in producing at the time.
producer.
So, and of course the artwork was by
It was still Derek Riggs at this
Derek
point,
Riggs.
wasn't
Yes,
it?
it was still Derek Riggs. So
I'm looking for his little symbol. It's got to be
it's
on
over
there
there somewhere. It always is. Is it right? Is it right
Oh,
there?
look! It's a scrotal tattoo that this guy has right down here. It's got to be on here somewhere. It's just like Blue Oyster
It's
Cult.
not above the eye, is it? Right there? No, that's not it.
It's like Blue Oyster Cult. You're always looking for the symbol somewhere in the
Yeah.
album, and it's hidden on
In
something.
any case, I actually have an Iron Maiden now, which you can't see sitting over there, up there in the corner, and it's signed by Derek Riggs.
Oh, cool.
And he signed over top of the Iron. It's what album is it up there? It's the first album, Iron Maiden, and he signed over top of the Iron Maiden logo instead of on top of the image. So
On top of Eddie's face.
yeah, he didn't sign on any part of the artwork. He signed over the Iron Maiden logo. Well, I didn't think anything of it. I just it was
They had a falling out.
Him and I were
right?
talking. Yes, him and I were just talking, and he was really funny guy. Him and his wife both. And anyhow, the next guy came up and he had his Iron Maiden album signed, and he signed it. And the guy asked him, "Why do you always sign on the Iron Maiden logo?" And he goes, "They always sign on my artwork. I'm going to sign on their logo."
Because they're cunts, that's why. That's funny. All right.
So now I'm the cunt.
Oh, I'm the cunt. All right, where are we? Ah, okay. This is a good one. Number 21. Everybody's favorite disease.
Yep.
Anthrax. Persistence of time.
Yeah, I got into this one early on. Like I said, 1990 was the year I got out of it for a little while, but I did get this one, and I was a huge Anthrax fan, as you guys know if you watch my channel for any amount of time. I mean, they were a local band for me. I bought the first single when it was in the stores, so I followed this band from the beginning. Pretty much continued on. These guys were hugely popular at this time, and they were playing stadiums. They were on freaking Married with Children, for God's sakes, you know, which was a huge show back then. You remember?
Oh, yeah,
it was. It was the show back then. So,
And I got to say that, where is it?
what song are you looking for?
Did they just call it Time?
Yes.
Oh, there it is. There it is. The thing that blew me away on this album was their Joe Jackson cover, Got the Time.
Yep.
One of the best cover songs ever. What a great choice, and man, they nailed it. It's such a great version of that song.
But there's still tracks on here that they play to this day. Keep It in the Family,
Yeah.
In My World, Belly of the Beast, and of course Got the Time. But yeah, it's a great album.
This is the one right after State of Euphoria, right?
Yes. Well, I mean, and they had all kinds of other singles and
Yeah,
EPs and all that kind of junk that came out. But yeah,
Yeah, they released
And this
Time
was-
the Man like 7 times or something.
Well, that was first released as just a B-side track.
It was the
And then-
B-side to I Am the Law.
Right, and people just loved it so much they.
I loved it.
I did too. I thought
it was
hilarious.
great. And there was a second B-side on there that you don't hear as much. It was called Buddy Love Bomb and the Satan's Lounge Band. That one didn't quite catch on.
That was pretty funny though.
It was.
That's what people. To this day, I hear people. I posted a single, this 45 for that rap song, and people were all bagging on, saying that sucked. That's why Anthrax sucks. I'm
That
like,
didn't suck. That was hilarious.
they're like, I was like, it was a joke song. Yeah, but they made it serious. I'm like, no,
No, they didn't.
The whole thing was a joke, and it was funny, and it was fun.
And nobody was doing that crap at that point. Nobody was
Yeah.
really doing that crossover
There
stuff.
was that weird little rap metal band that I can't remember what they're called, but they were horrible. But anyhow,
I don't remember them. I remember Body Count.
no, and Body Count was after the fact.
They were
but-
pretty intense.
Yeah, but anyhow, whatever. And then little side story on this one. This one's been re-released, and there's like a 3 LP version of it. I bought it from Amazon when it came out new. It came to me so beat up. It was like every corner was like, it wasn't just a little bend. It was like way bent.
That blows.
So I'm like, that sucks. And all the plastics are cut. So I took the plastic off and I played and listened to the whole thing, packaged it back up, sent it back to them. So then they sent me another one. Came in the same condition. I was like, they sent it in an envelope with no cardboard in it. It was
it a
destroyed.
private seller on Amazon?
No, it was Amazon.
That
So I'm
doesn't
like,
make any sense.
that was ridiculous. So I returned it a second time, and the third time they sent it to me again. This time they sent it to me, and it was obviously a used copy that someone else had returned. I was like, I'm like, you know what? I'm done. I want my money back. So I still have my original pressing, and I'm done.
So what was the extra? What was on the extra vinyl?
Demos and B-sides and
Oh,
all that kind of stuff.
That's cool.
Live tracks. And
Can we get that AC on? I'm getting hot.
It's on.
It is on? I'm warm. I never have my hair down except for you guys. All right, I got to do another goofy one. This was a big album for me. It was a strange album for me, but it was a big one. 1990 was the year that Jane's Addiction put out their third full-length, which is called Ritual de lo Habitual. I was still in DT Seizure when this came out. And here's the thing. DT Seizure, all four of us were big fans of the previous album, Nothing Shocking. Remember the one with the two girls that were joined at the shoulder,
yep.
naked, topless, in the rocking chair, their heads on fire. What a great album. Fantastic album. I won't say I loved this one just as much, but it came out during a time that there was a lot of change going on in 1990. For me personally, and also I just think in general, it was a pivotal year for some reason. Definitely in music, and in the world too, really. So what we got on here is a, let me show you this one, controversial cover. This is an art project by Perry Farrell, the singer. Three-dimensional art project, you know, paper mache and a bunch of crap in it and stuff. And it shows him and two girls looking like they're in bed, doing the old menage a trois. Legend has it lasted for 3 days, and this was the art project that he created out of it. There's a song on the album called 3 Days that apparently is about this union, whatever you want to call it, art project. It comes out swinging, really. The song Stop. Great song.
They were a throuple.
What's that?
They were a throuple.
A treble?
Throuple. Not a couple, but a throuple.
Oh, a throuple. So it's like a triple.
Or triple.
Or that. I think it's a great album. Been Caught Stealing was a huge hit. It's got that funky bass line, and the dogs barking. And I don't know. Perry Farrell was a really interesting dude. I think if he had died after this album, he would be a friggin' legend, like Jim Morrison kind of legend, but he didn't. But he was definitely a very unstable cat during this period of time, drugs and all that, nervous breakdowns. And so this, Jane's was a very interesting band to me, hit me kind of hard, and I remember I saw them on this tour too, with my sister, here at ASU. It was one of the first shows I went to here when I got to Arizona. Not here, I'm in New Mexico. Yeah, Jane's Addiction, third album, Ritual de lo Habitual. I definitely recommend Nothing Shocking, their second one. This is a very close second as far as my favorites. What's next? Damn it, I gotta do it again. Again, I apologize. I didn't look this one up, and I forgot to bring it. So this one, what's that?
You did.
I did forget.
Yep.
Because
this is just albums that I don't have in my collection.
Wow, there's no Wikipedia. Oh, there it is. Okay, this came out 1990. This was a big hit for this band. And I always thought it was kind of the beginning of the whole unplugged trend that stuck around for years in the 90s. And it was one of my favorite trends in music over the past 20, 30 years. Tesla, 5-man acoustical jam, live album, but all on acoustic instruments,
yep.
Not their typical.
God, that was good. I mean, nothing to say against that particular album, but that trend was awful.
There's a lot of stuff that came out of it that I loved. There's a lot of stuff that came out of it that sucked.
Yes.
But there's some albums that came out that were absolutely phenomenal.
I like the Kiss the MTV Unmasked.
The Kiss Unplugged.
Unplugged. Yeah, it was better than anybody expected, I think.
And it was the beginning of that whole reunion thing too. So when I saw the video disc of that, whatever, it's like a, whatever they called them, DVD. Thank you. Back when it came out, my buddy Chris played it for me. I was like, wow. And then they played Going Blind.
Yeah.
I was like, that's great. Anyway, talking about Tesla.
Yeah.
A big hit off this for them.
With a cover song.
Was a cover song by the 5-man electrical band.
Yep. Which
they nabbed the title and changed it to 5-man acoustical jam. The song was Signs. Huge hit for them. I really enjoyed this album a lot. It came at a time when I just kind of needed something that was a bit more mainstream and kind of normal and a little bit laid back.
Organic?
Yeah. And it just hit the spot. And They did a lot of their hits off of Mechanical Resonance, the first album. A couple things off of the second, Great Radio Controversy, of which Heaven's Trail No Way Out was a huge song for me. Loved it. I thought it was a solid release. Definitely a good follow-up to the first two albums, which I really, really liked a lot. So that, yeah, Tesla. That's all I got to say about that one, I guess.
I really like Tesla's cover album that they did with all the cover songs on it.
Yeah, there was some
cool
stuff on it. It was called like Real to Real or something.
Real to Real,
like that.
yeah. Real to Real 1 and Real to Real 2.
Yeah.
It was weird too because Real to Real 1 you bought it in the stores and you get the Digi wallet thing and there was a spot for another CD but the CD wasn't in there. The only way you could get the CD was to go to the show on that tour and go to the table and they would give it to you.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
So I purposely made sure I went to go see Tesla on that tour because I'm getting that missing CD.
Friggin' CD.
And I did. All right, next up.
All right, we are at number, what, 18.
Number 18, second album.
Halfway through.
Second album from Seattle's Sanctuary, of course, World Dane. This was their last album, sort of. It was the last album for Sanctuary. They ended up becoming Nevermore. So basically, a bass player, Jim Shepard, and then their touring guitarist for this album was.
He's not on there?
I'm working on his solo album over here. And I can't,
Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff Loomis. Just brain farted that one. So they're touring out guitar player. So Jeff Loomis, Jim Shepard, and World Dane decided to form Nevermore. Why did they decide to form Nevermore and not do Sanctuary anymore? From what I understand and what I've read and some insider information I got from record companies was they wanted Sanctuary to go, this is a band from Seattle, on a major label. The major label wanted them to do grunge.
Oh, they wanted Sanctuary to do grunge?
Grunge. They wanted them to go into a grunge direction because that was what was selling at the time.
But that, I mean, what a massive shift of styles that would have been.
Yep, I mean, they were pretty dark.
They were a metal band.
They were a metal band, but they were dark. But man, I can't imagine them doing that. So a
lot of bands did though.
They did, yeah. But so they were like, nope, we ain't doing it. So they broke the band up, formed a new band called Nevermore, and then continued playing the style of music they wanted to play. Put out 9 albums with Nevermore, and then Sanctuary reformed and put out one other album. Years ago. Yep.
I didn't realize that.
Another great album, although it sounds more like Nevermore than Sanctuary to me, but still, it's just a great album. But yeah, this is, a lot of people consider this a progressive U.S. power metal classic. I do as well. They also released a live album at this time. It was a promo-only thing on CD, which I also have. It's was called Into the Mirror Black Live, so it was very, very well thought out title.
Kind of an afterthought.
And this guy on the cover.
What do you want to call it?
I swear this guy just started showing up on every single album cover. Like, isn't that the same guy that was on Megadeth's Countdown to Extinction?
Yeah, his hair was a little longer. But
yeah, and then it was the same guy that was on the Fates Warning album where he was laying back in the bed and. I think
you're right.
I don't think it actually is the same guy, but I don't know what it was about old gray-haired men that was suddenly getting on all these different covers at the time.
I mean, he looks a little bit like the guy from Phantasm too.
Yeah, I love this album. So it's a classic. So it doesn't quite have the same high-pitched vocal style that the first one had. There's still some of that, but not quite like Battle Angels on the first album.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, man.
Sanctuary, one of my all-time favorite bands, one of my all-time favorite albums right there.
All right, don't get too comfortable.
How that didn't make it into our top 10, I don't know. Actually, I do know because I wasn't into it that year.
Well, and also our top 10 was pretty solid.
Yeah.
We were pretty... It didn't take us long to come up with it, and there just wasn't room for anything else.
What number are we on?
We are on number 17.
All right, number 17. This was one that I discovered from their first album. This is their second album. It was released in the U.S. on REX. It was released in Europe on... Roadrunner. One of those two races. Road Racer, Roadrunner.
One of them road guys.
Yeah, so anyhow, I don't have this one on vinyl. It is the only Believer album I don't have on vinyl. It annoys me. But
not familiar with it.
This is just raw, brutal thrash metal. I mean, if you know thrash, you know this band. They toured on this album. They toured with Bolt Thrower and Sacrifice from Canada. You can definitely tell after this that those bands played a part in their albums coming out afterward because they started getting more and more progressive and more weird.
Okay.
But they did get a little weird on this one too. They did a U2 cover on their first album. I'm assuming they did a.
Remember which song?
They didn't do a U2 cover on the first album. They did a classical sounding thing on their first album, Deseares or something like that.
Oh, Diez Irae. I just played that on the show a few
And then
weeks
on
ago.
this album, they did a U2 cover of Like a Song. So,
oh, cool! I didn't know that.
but yeah, it's just brilliant, technical thrash metal, and I love the production. I love everything about it. It's raw, it's heavy, it's thrash, and if you know me,
it's on the old Rex label.
Yeah, on the REX label in the United States. But anyhow, I mean, I've done a bazillion favorite thrash album videos over the time, so I'm sure you've seen me show that album more than once. Literally, it's the only one I don't have on vinyl, and I would love to get it on vinyl.
Awesome.
You're up.
All right. Yeah, this album was special for me. 1990 saw we were in the thick of the Tony Martin era for Black Sabbath. And of course, Tony Iommi at the helm, as ever. This, I can't say I was huge into Sabbath in 1990, but the classic Sabbath. Not coming down on any of the other eras, but Ozzy Sabbath and me were heavily in a monogamous relationship. You know, we were fucking all the time. And this, my buddy Joey Nash turned me on to. And I probably wouldn't have paid attention to it otherwise, because at the time I was like, I don't need it. It's not the Sabbath that I love best. So I just gave it a shot. I was open-minded one day. He goes, check this out. It's really good. And it is. It's friggin' awesome. It's my favorite. I since have gotten into all the Tony Martin era albums, but this one still stands out as my favorite. And the opening tracks, Anno Mundi and the Sabbath, Anno Mundi and the Lawmaker, just they hooked me immediately, and I just loved it. And I was like, wow, I love a Sabbath album that's outside of all my currently known eras. This is great. Great album. I still think it's really strong.
I agree. I think it's one of the best Tony Martin eras, and I think Tony Martin's a great singer.
He is.
I don't quite understand why he felt he needed the lyrics to be so dark.
I think it's almost like he was trying too hard.
Yeah.
It's like he had Ozzy, and I don't think... I would say, yeah, Geezer's lyrics were dark, but not in the way that we've come to know dark.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were like just out there, and you're like, what the hell? But then Dio came along.
Then Dio came along, but again, Dio's lyrics weren't really that dark. They were just like rhyming. And,
yeah. He was very, very medieval and poetic and all that
But
stuff.
a lot of the songs, if you read them, you're like, what?
Yeah. And then of course, Ian Gillan came along, and most of his lyrics were like, duh? What the hell? I've never been that into Ian as a lyricist.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times he just borrows old Little Richard lyrics and sings them and stuff like that. But I think Tony was just like really trying to make his mark in Sabbath. I don't know.
But yeah, great singer. I mean, fantastic.
Yeah.
Who else was in the band? Was Kazi Powell in the band still at that point?
Cozy Powell was on drums, Neil Murray on bass from Whitesnake, and Jeff Nichols on keyboards, of course. It was a really solid lineup. It just wasn't necessarily, it wasn't the Black Sabbath that I knew and loved.
Well,
But
most people knew and loved, which is why it just didn't click.
right. Any other band under a different name, it might not have caught on at all. But because Tony basically was Black Sabbath at this point, I think excellent album.
So, if of all the Sabbath albums, minus the early Dio and the Ozzy stuff, would that be your favorite of all of those?
Well, I love Born Again too.
Yeah,
I really love Born Again. But as far as the Tony Martin era, absolutely my favorite. Followed closely by Headless Cross, probably.
Yeah. I think I'd probably pick Born Again as well, but I really like the Black Sabbath album that was the Tony Martin solo album with Glenn Hughes on vocals. I think that's...
Oh, you mean the Iommi Fused stuff?
No, Shining's...
Seven Star.
Seven Star, thank you.
Yeah.
Shining Star.
We just did Striper.
I know, Striper.
Or as it was known previously with Jeff Fenholt's version, was Star of India.
Oh.
All this stuff was redone when Glenn Hughes came in. But yeah, definitely. Outside of...
it was supposed to be a solo album, and it just didn't happen. I guess it was a label, right?
Well, I think it was the label that pressured him to put it out as Black Sabbath.
Yes, I meant. Yeah.
I finally read what I think is the definitive account of that whole Sabbath Fenholt bullshit
mess.
It was Don Arden.
It was Don Arden.
Don Arden's the one that he was telling Tony one thing, telling Jeff Fenholt the other. They were both telling the truth. It was Don Arden was lying to both of them basically, and then just a mess. But I finally read an account. It was in the Never Say Die book. That was all about those off years, and I was like, that makes sense finally. which I thought was cool. Anyway, totally got off topic.
We can talk about Sabbath forever.
We could.
It is.
And if this is what I think it is next, and I've got a lot to say about this one. This was one of my favorite albums that came out this year. I've been really wanting to check these guys out for a few years, but I just wasn't really finding their stuff. And then at this point, I found a bunch of their albums. St. Vitus V, brand new album in 1990, originally on Hellhound Records. And this album just hit the spot for me. I loved it. It's still one of my favorite Vitus albums. Of the Wino years, this is probably my absolute favorite.
Look how young Wino looks in that picture, man. It's
I know,
amazing.
Really young. All of them were, really.
Yep.
And but this was the last album he sang on before he left and pursued his Obsessed and all the other bands he did, and then he returned several years later. I love this album. There's not a song on it I don't like, but I will say my favorites are absolutely track number 2, I Bleed Black. Just devastating song. And When Emotion Dies, which features guitarist Dave Chandler on vocals. It's one of those situations where he's not singing on key, but it sounds so good. It's awesome. And the whole album's just it's really great. It's very simplistic doom metal, but it just works really, really well. If you haven't heard Vitus, and as far as from the Wino era, I would definitely say check this one out.
Very slow. I call it traditional doom.
Yep.
It's not like there's a lot of epic doom bands like Candlemass, those kind of things.
It's not like that at all.
It's not like that. It's more traditional doom, so it's in the line of like Pentagram
and early Black Sabbath.
Or early Sabbath. Yeah.
The early stuff.
Place of Skulls.
Yeah. And there's some songs on here. There's a couple that are so slow that they hurt. Like Petra is very, very slow, and it's like, oh my god, this is so slow. It aches. It makes me ache. It's so slow. But
there's a video on YouTube somewhere of Don Dokken talking about when he was working with the band and producing them. It's freaking hilarious.
And you can tell that Don Dokken produced that next album. It was Children of Doom album. It was the one after this one, I think. You can tell. It's like, oh man.
Yeah, it's brighter. And,
much.
And he kept pushing the band. You guys need to write an upbeat song, a faster song. And he's like, and they're coming at me with all these Judd. And he goes, and they come back. We got it. Judd.
How those two ended up together, no clue. I never would have put those two together.
Nope.
But it's interesting to hear.
Yeah, it's not a bad album at all.
No, it isn't. And it's got former Count Raven vocalist on it, Christian.
I'm not gonna be able to remember either.
Christian something. And it's a different album for Vitus. It's a unique album for Vitus for sure. Wino returned shortly after. Actually, Scott Rieger's returned too.
Several times, yeah.
Everybody comes back. St. Vitus V, 1990. Awesome album. Check it out if you haven't heard it. Where are we? This is all you.
We're professionals now. We have a phone with a list on it, so we don't just forget them. Yes.
This is mainly you.
Third album from Bay Area band. Bunch of relatives, cousins. Saw this band just recently. There was Testament and Death Angel and Exodus on the Bay Area Strikes Back tour. They were fantastic.
Awesome. I saw them 3 or 4 years ago in Phoenix.
I saw them 3 or 4 years ago too, and they were great. Yeah. So I love this album. Now a lot of people don't like it as much as the first two. It's not as raw. It's not every song is speed for speed's sake.
But they were growing.
They were growing. They were getting into songs. I don't necessarily like the direction they took after this when they became the organization so much, but I liked when they came back and became Death Angel again. But anyhow, there's not a bad song on here. But yeah, Room with a View was the ballad, and that was the single. That was the video on MTV at the time, and people just didn't dig it because this is a thrash band that they're playing a ballad. But gosh, man, Testament had a ballad. Judas Priest had great ballads.
Yeah.
I just don't understand the why a band can't step outside of the norm and do something different. But
I think when being in a band is your livelihood, it's your bread and butter, and you're on the professional level, major label.
Yeah.
You make some decisions sometimes that maybe you shouldn't have.
Maybe. Yeah. But anyhow,
I don't know.
I love this album. Veil of Deception is one of my favorite songs on here. Falling Asleep, I believe, is on here. I can't read it. Look at that's horrible text.
Yeah, I can't. Plus, it's red.
It's red, yeah. So it doesn't matter. It's just a great album. If you like the Bay Area thrash scene, most people now. It's funny now. Now I see people who tend to love the album. It's a lot of albums like that. Remember when Another Perfect Day by Motorhead came out? Everybody hated that album.
Oh, it's so good.
I loved it, but then again, I was a big Thin Lizzy fan, so it was like,
yeah. So
and I was a big Motorhead fan, so it was a perfect mashup for me.
Yeah.
But a lot of people hated it.
Yeah.
I mean, people were booing him when they were on stage, and
yeah. I mean, Brian Robertson was an odd choice. Musically, I think it worked. Visually, not so much.
Well, and it would have worked if he still had his Thin Lizzy look.
Yeah, because I don't know what he was doing. He was experimenting with some kind of weird Olivia Newton-John kind of look. I don't know.
The short shorts and the weird hair and
the headband and the curly perm and I don't know. But whatever the case.
All right, number 20-something.
No, we're at 13 now.
13?
Yeah,
dang,
this
is
good. Very innovative band here. Just coming off a little experimental trip that they took into hair metal. Which I thought was awesome.
Cold Lake. If you saw what year Cold Lake came out? 88, I think.
Something like that.
So if you saw our 88 video, I believe we heralded that one quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I like the early Celtic.
When I saw that come on MTV, it was Cherry Orchards.
Yep.
I saw the video. I'm going, wait. This is the guys that put out Morbid Tales that was so friggin' dark back in '84. I'm like, what is this? I tell you what, though, Celtic Frost did better hair metal than any hair metal band ever.
That's what I always tell people. If that's what hair metal was, I would have loved more of it. I mean, it was just so good. It was.
Yeah.
I mean, it had
I liked it by defolt. It's like that's the best hair metal I've ever heard. If that's the case.
Anyhow, but that's not. This album, they were attempting to return to their sound.
Yes.
They brought back one member, I believe, and kept two others from the Cold Lake days. But
I mean, Tom and Martin were pretty much the mainstays.
yeah. But in any case, I mean, I love the first track. The heart beneath. And it's just like this jackhammer of a sound.
Yeah.
I just absolutely love it.
Tom Warrior, just a real, and I don't know what name he goes by anymore. Tom Gabriel, Tom Warrior, Tom Fisher. Just a real, a fountainhead of metal creativity, I think.
I agree. And I know people don't dig this album quite as much as they do the earlier stuff, but this is one of my favorites as well.
They're very unique. I mean, they really inspired a lot of the black metal that started coming out. And
this pressing is really weird. Good, you can keep talking.
Yeah. Except I forgot what I was going to say.
But they did change the cover a little bit on here. I don't remember the original release having that CF on there.
No, I think all the reissues had that.
Yeah.
But the cover's basically the same, I think.
Yeah, the broken glass. But this thing, first of all, it's a double album in a gatefold.
It's only recently. That's a recent reissue, isn't it?
Yes. Hang on to this, or
and I think they were trying to be a bit more intellectual on this one, like. Okay.
They were trying to prove themselves after people hated the turn they took. But yeah,
I remember what I was going to say. Tom's creativity has sometimes taken this band into really strange areas. Hair metal not being the strangest, actually. There's some stuff that's never really seen the light of day. Demos that he actually started venturing into hip hop and weird.
One in my hand single.
Oh, I never seen that before.
I would love to own that. I've never.
Very different artwork for them.
Yeah, but anyhow, I mean this packaging on this thing is amazing. It's a double album. It's got bonus tracks on it. Was Heroes was on here, right? Yeah, Heroes.
Yeah, the Bowie cover.
Yeah. And then also, hang on this for a second here. You can put the record inside the middle.
Where is it in the middle?
Yeah.
Is it a double or a triple?
It's a double.
What's in here?
I'm telling you, this thing is packed full of stuff.
Got all kinds of crap in here.
This is the book that came with it. It's amazing. I mean, this is a lyric book. It's like a giant CD booklet.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, was it Curtis Bryant? Was that his name? This dude over here.
I don't remember.
Martin. Yeah, there you go. It was Curtis Victor Bryant, guitars and vocals. He was the leftover from the.
And then Stephen Priestley. He's been around for a while.
But he was also a leftover from the Cold Lake days.
Yeah.
So, anyhow. There's a picture of the band if I didn't already show it.
I just think a very innovative band that I keep returning to because their creativity is inspiring to me, even if sometimes it doesn't quite translate.
Cool photo of the band too.
Yep. He's wearing a Possessed shirt. That's not the shirt he was wearing on the Cold Lake video.
That's another cool one.
Yep.
Anyhow, awesome package this one is.
Great band. They always put out consistently good product, I think. And, you know, since Martin Ain died several years ago, Celtic Frost will probably never see the light of day again. But Tom went on to do Triptychon, which is actually some really intense,
weird,
like black doom metal kind of a thing, which I really like. And in some moments, it's like a bit more than my tastes allow for. But
it's very moody for me. I've got to be
extremely moody.
I got to be in the right headspace to listen to it.
Like in the middle of winter is a good time to listen to it.
Yeah,
even without snow.
What's next?
Oh yes, we're still doing a video, aren't we?
We're professionals, don't you know?
Oh yeah. Oh good, I get to do one of the lame ones again. All right, but a great album in my opinion. This was a band that I got into in '91, and I had to go retro with them because I got into their third album. Was Primus, one of the best things that came out of the '90s in my estimation. Frizzle Fry was basically at this point was their second album. Very unique. Primus had a very unique sound. When I first heard them, I heard Rush, I heard King Crimson, I heard The Residents, in a big mishmash, along with like some tongue-in-cheek, funny comedy, a very unique sound, thanks to Les Claypool's bizarro bass playing. And as I said before, Larry Lalonde, fresh out of Possessed, now in Primus, playing nothing like he played in Possessed. And just a drummer powerhouse by the name of Herb something. Tim Herb Alexander, great drummer, real tight, very tasty drummer. This whole album, great tracks. It's Primus standards, really.
And I never was a huge fan of Primus, but we had a bass player in Ultimatum that was a Primus fanatic.
Yeah.
So every time we went on to do long distance, I heard them a million times over. So, and then what was the band Victor Wooten was in? Bass player that, anyhow, he was constantly playing Victor Wooten stuff too. I'll never forget
he was
his name.
a jazz guy.
Yeah.
I wanted to say Weather Report, but that was Jaco Pastorius. I don't remember.
Anyhow.
But yeah, I know what you're talking about. But I mean.